Okay, we're starting a little bit early. Hold on, I'll just adjust the camera a little bit so that you can see my website address up there. Um, yeah, well, this is first for this channel. We are now at my powerlifting vlog channel, Björn Lifts. But I am here in a corner of my office where I normally do my live streams over at Björn Talks, another of my YouTube channels. And I thought that I would just answer some questions that I see in the comments, and maybe someone will discover this ongoing live stream, and post some comments, questions in the chat, and I will try to reply to those. But mainly, I thought I would just address some of the most common questions that I see in the comment section to my videos here on this channel. Now, if you're new to this channel, well, first of all, welcome. This is not going to be like a live streaming channel, I think. It's my vlog. I'm vlogging my training, my my top working sets. And well, if you watch one of my videos here, you'll see what I mean. Hi there, Curtis. Good to see you as always. Wow, we have 13 people here. That's wonderful. And a thumbs up as well. Thank you for that, whoever gave me that thumbs up. Yeah, so I will try to reply to the most common questions that I see in the comment section here on this channel, on this powerlifting channel. I I just thought maybe I will give it a few seconds, because I see people are joining actually now, and yeah, okay. Let's get straight to it. I get a lot of questions about my diet. And here's another question in the chat. So my diet, I try not to think about eating as dieting. I try to think about eating as eating real food and being healthy. Now, there is this misconception. Well, there are many, many misconceptions. But let me just put it this way. I eat mostly meat. And since I started getting most of my proteins, but also most of my calories from red meat, I have, it's awesome. I feel so much better. And I try to avoid, basically plant-based foods. I'll say that again because it goes against everything that people are hearing these days. I'm trying to the best of my abilities to avoid plant-based foods. And after I started eating in such a manner, I have felt much healthier. Well, not like it was never like I felt unhealthy before, but I feel energized, strong, and yeah, I feel much better. So this is commonly known as the carnivore diet. I'm not strictly carnivore. I do eat carbs, but I view carbs as something that I add to my to my daily diet. I don't like that word diet, but you know what I mean. I add carbs to that so that I won't lose too much weight. Having said that, I am trying to keep my body weight down. And why is that? Well, it is because of weight classes. Any idiot out there can get very strong if he just eats a lot and gets big and fat. Any idiot can do that. And that's why we have weight classes in powerlifting. And I am starting to touch the top limit of my weight class. And maybe at some point I will have to do the jump into the next weight class, and then I will be adding more calories. So yeah, that's how I eat. And also I try to avoid milk. I don't do well with milk. I don't do well with eggs. My my physiology doesn't really agree with those foods. So basically, meat. That's what I eat. That's well, I consider it to be a health food. And you know what? I'm not one of those people who make fun of vegans. I think that's very childish, a very childish thing to do. I actually wish it was so that I could just eat plant-based food all day long and be healthy. But that's not the case. At least not for me. So let's see here. People are writing what they are eating. Okay. Here's a question. How do you program after you had a few months layoff? I've never had a few months layoff. Not. I started lifting at the age of 13, and I've never had a layoff. Not even when I broke my neck. Let's see. Nicolo from Italy. Hi there. Now, another thing that I want to address is, and this is, I'll try to not get emotional about it, but people commenting on my lifting technique, I don't see that very often. But those times when I have seen it, they've all been wrong every single time. Now, you need to realize I've been doing this for a long time, and I have fine-tuned my technique. And that means that I understand that my lifting technique is constantly evolving. It will change when you drop body weight. It will change when you gain body weight. And also you have to adapt to injuries, which you will get in powerlifting, so that you can lift in such a way that minimizes the risk of getting new injuries and making those existing injuries even worse. So I see comments like, well, I don't even want to get into it, but I see a lot of comments concerning my deadlift, which is funny and a little bit almost cute. Now, how many national records do I've made 5 national records in a deadlift. So I'm not saying that my deadlift technique is perfect. I don't think I've ever seen someone with a perfect deadlift technique. Well, it's easy to do that when you're at 80% of your max, but on a maximum lift, I don't think I've ever seen a perfectly performed deadlift. But I think I know what I'm doing. Unless you have more national records in the deadlift than I have, then, well, if you do, then I guess then you would understand what I'm talking about here, and you would not be writing comments like that. And it's not those people. It's not experienced powerlifting people writing comments like that. Now, let's see here. Do you have a preferred compound movement you enjoy most? Well, I'm a powerlifter, so we do the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. And well, we do other exercises as well, but those are the main compound movements, and I enjoy the deadlift the most. That's my favorite. So, now I also, sadly, when I started this channel, my powerlifting blog, actually the first comment that I got was someone writing that I'm on steroids, which is just silly and sad, you know. It tells me, it's just very sad. I'm a lifetime drug-free athlete, and I compete in tested competitions, which means that if you use any of those things, then you're a cheater. You're cheating. And I will say this: people these days, I think that this taking these steroids has become so common in the commercial gyms that if you're somewhat strong, people almost take it for, they almost expect that this person is on steroids. But I can tell you that if you're dedicated and you train in a sensible manner and you're patient, you can get to superhuman levels of strength. You can, and I know many people who are so strong that these puffy, if that's a word, bodybuilders in these commercial gyms, they would look like little boys compared to them. So yeah, I have nothing but contempt for people who assume that anyone who is very strong must be on steroids, because you kind of, if you're making accusations like that, you're kind of taking away the hard work, the dedication from those people. Uh, Becoming very strong, and it's a science. Well, multiple sciences are involved, and it takes intelligence, dedication, patience, um, and I think that for me, because it's so hard, because it's so difficult, because it's mentally and intellectually challenging, I think that's the main reason why I love powerlifting so much. Okay. uh, um, Leif Son of Rogaland is asking, what are your thoughts on using a trap bar for deadlifts? Have you ever used one yourself? I only use a trap bar now. Now, for those who don't know, a trap bar is, if you imagine, instead of having a straight bar, you have a bar with an octagonal, is if well, a shape so that you can stand inside a frame, and you have handles on the side. So imagine lifting up two suitcases. What happens is that it's getting a little bit technical here, but some people say it's better safer for your lower back. You don't have to lean forwards that much, and so on. So yeah, I think it's a good substitute for some people. I don't do it much, but it would be programmed into my training schedule if it was sensible for me to do it. It can never be a replacement for real deadlifting, though. Okay. Now, yes? Do I if I plan to start competing again? Um, yes, I will. But I've told myself that I really want to be confident at 250 kilos in the deadlift in my gym before I start competing, because I'm not quite there yet. Not so far away from it, but I'm not quite there yet. But um, it would feel embarrassing for me to compete without being able to lift 250 kilos in the deadlift. You need to remember that I used to lift 300 plus kilos in the deadlift. Gothicus the Bold is asking, how do you find a squat bar compares to a normal barbell, or is there little difference? A normal barbell. Um, I don't. I only use proper bars, and I guess a normal barbell that you would find in a commercial gym would be maybe thinner, smoother, maybe. Um, the most important thing about the squat bar, well, the powerlifting bars, is that they need to be tested at high loads so that they don't break. If they break, you can get a horrible injury. uh, yeah. So, what else is there? Let's see here. Well, yeah, if you're new to this channel, if I didn't say so already, then please consider subscribing. It's not an exciting channel. It's very boring. But if you love strength training, maybe you will find it interesting. What I'm doing here. A lot of what a lot of what YouTube is, or the training, or the strength training channels, they quite fake. There's a lot of fake stuff going on there. I will say this. Uh, Most of what I've seen is some guy on steroids. And you can't really compare that to, well, because they will get progress and muscle growth no matter what they're doing. Um, there's actually been, I think it was the Russians, they studied on that. Yeah, they actually did studies on that, or the Soviets, I should say. And they found, well, I don't have the link for you now, but um, back in when I was at the national team, we were presented with some data, and they actually found that the people, how was it? The tremendous difference. So Mr. F Your Freedoms Schwarzenegger, he said that 5% of his progress as a bodybuilder was due to steroids. No, 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 no. That's not true. A lot more. Shall we say 50? Maybe more? I don't know, but not 5%. That's just a lie. That's just something he said to well, yeah, okay. Let's see. Now, concerning my training, I focus on no, my training is I'm training a skill, and there's an important difference between that and training for, let's say, getting big muscles. I'm not interested in getting big muscles. Well, of course, it's okay, it's nice, it's a nice side effect, but I'm training to compete in the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. So I'm training a skill. Well, actually, I'm training a skill that has an expression in those three movements. This is different from some guy in a gym, okay? It's a sport. So it's throwing a javelin and they measure the distance, right? My sport and what I'm doing is much closer to that than to, let's say, bodybuilding. And it's important that people understand that, because my goal is not looks. So now I used throwing the javelin just as an example. Could be anything. Could be any sport where you're where you can measure a result, right? And that's how you compete. So it's so important that people get that, but most people, they don't get that. And that's why I sometimes see comments where people say, oh, you shouldn't bench press like that. And, well, yes, actually I should do that, because I'm training a skill, not muscle growth, right? So in the bench press, for instance, that means that, well, if you bench press from muscle growth, then you should lift in a manner that promotes muscle growth. If you're training the bench press to train your skill lifting the bench press once in a competition, paused on the chest, that's very different. That's a skill. Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay. Gothicus the Bald is asking, do you have an interest in strongman competitions as well, or always been powerlifting? Well, my hatred for strongman competitions is quite intense, actually. Why is that? Well, as far as I know, there is no drug testing. And if you want to be on the national powerlifting team in Norway, well, you're not allowed to be on the national powerlifting team in Norway. At least it used to be like that. I think it still is. You're not allowed to be on the national powerlifting team if you compete in strongman, because we do not want to be associated with that. It's an unclean, and I'm not even going to call it a sport, because it's not. It's a show. And they could tidy up the whole thing. They could start applying the same testing regime as in other decent sports, or indecent sports, and then it would be considered a sport, I guess. But no, I have no interest in that. And the other reason why I hate it so much is that they claim to do deadlifts. They do. Now, I love the deadlift. I can tell you that for most people, the most challenging part of the deadlift is your grip. And if you notice, next time you see on social media these clips from strongman competition, they use wraps. They wrap their hands to the bar. Well, of course they can lift more than. I mean, of course, because they're taking away the hardest part of the lift, which is your grip. Now, I've had the skin torn clean off my hands in the deadlift several times. It's just the human body parts of the human body starts giving in when you're at 300 plus kilos in the deadlift. That's just how it is. So, Leif is asking, why do you think Iceland has produced so many strongmen from such a small population? Well, it's very simple. Iceland, they have a tradition for strongman, and they don't have a tradition for testing. I'm sorry, I have to disappoint you there, but that seems to be the obvious answer. Well, are there any strongman organizations doing the same kind of testing that they do in proper sports? If so, that's news to me. Yeah. Now, please do not get confused here because you're talking about a show. It's like circus. I'm talking about strongman. It's like circus. It's not, I mean, why and why do you even ask me about it? Why would you assume that I had any interest in any of that? Because I'm a powerlifter. Powerlifting has nothing to do with strongman at all. We're not even doing the same, competing in the same movements. Well, yes, they say they do the deadlift, but they don't. Yeah, well, you could always play that game. There are powerlifting federations with no testing, and they squat 500 plus kilos, I think. I'm not interested even in the numbers there because it's just whoever has the biggest wallet wins, basically. Yes, you have to train hard. Yes, you have to have a good diet and an astronomical amount of calories every day. But all the guys do. And what seems to be the deciding factor is how much money they can spend on the chemicals. Let's leave that topic. Now, um, I have also gotten some questions about people who want to start lifting weights. And I will say that it is something that you absolutely should do. Um, and it doesn't matter how old you are. Well, yes, you shouldn't start too young. Now, that's a topic for discussion, I guess, because now it seems like most people are saying that children can train with heavy weights, even. I kind of disagree with that. I think children can and will benefit from weight training, but please keep the weights down. Um, and when you get older, the benefit you will have from lifting weights will be incredible. Um, and it makes me very happy when I see uh, old people going to the gym. It's just wonderful to see because that's really when you need it. That's when you need it. And I've seen, and there's this thing with lifters that just keep lifting. They don't stop. It's almost like they don't age. And we have lifters now in their 90s competing in powerlifting. Of course, at that age, you will see that they are old, but also they're not hunched, they're not under muscled. Well, a little bit maybe, but I mean, when you're almost 100 years old, um, what do you expect? But it's such a great thing to see, and it's proof that lifting weights is something everyone should do. I really believe that. Um, so, okay. Um, how are things moving here in the chat? There's a name here. I don't know what that is, who that is. Um, I'm going to just get rid of some comments. Nothing personal, but I don't want the strongman thing to take over. Okay, and people will see this on replay. So again, nothing personal. Okay. Yes. Um, I think maybe that was all, unless you have some more questions for me. Um, if you do, then please let me know. I will say that I had a wonderful week of training. I have one workout left. I will do that tomorrow. But I'm seeing a good progress, especially in the bench press. So I'm very happy about that. I Yeah, the bench press has been suffering a little bit because of my shoulders, but they seem fine now. And it's a matter of making all these things come together, and yeah, it's I love the science behind it, and I love the trying to solve the puzzle, if you know what I mean. Okay, I will end the live stream with that. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Uh, and well, thank you, Curtis. Thank you for that. And I might get back to. Yeah, here's a question that I will. Two questions. Okay, I'll answer those briefly. How tall are you? Well, I'm 180 centimeters. Um, and what advice would you have for someone starting out in powerlifting? Well, first of all, I would say that, well, wonderful if you're considering starting, or if you have started powerlifting. It's a wonderful sport. Um, I would say, just take it a little bit easy to start with. Your technique is much more important than the kilos on the bar. Uh, it's so please be sensible about your lifting technique, and don't go for max lifts straight away. Okay. And life is asking, when you increase your poundage, how much weight in kilos do you increase by per exercise? Well, that depends. In the I will obviously I will increase much more in the squat and the deadlift between the sets on the way up than in the bench press. Think about this as percentages, right? So yeah, okay. Thanks for listening, and thanks for joining. I'll see you in the next training vlog, probably on Sunday. I will have the new one probably probably on Sunday. Okay. Have a nice evening, and we'll talk soon. Bye.